comes a time in every young man's life where he has to decide who will be the next pope. And for me, that time is now. I'm going to tell you my pick for who I want to be elected the pope of the future. So let's look at our candidates. First, we have all the way from Budapest, Hungary, Cardinal Peter Erdo. This guy is really boring, and that might be to his advantage. He has a lot of esteem among the European cardinals. Then there's another kind of boring pick. We have Reinhard Marx from Munich. This guy was an important financial advisor to the papacy, and he threatened to resign in the early 2020s due to a controversy surrounding the German church having a sex scandal. Shows how seriously he takes his religion, but the Pope rejected his resignation, so he stayed a bishop. Another cardinal who took a stand against sexual abuse, who is a candidate in this election, is Marc Hullet from French Canada. This guy is kind of seen as a narc among a lot of the bishops, so he probably won't get elected. Then we have a couple of Italian candidates. You always have to have at least one Italian candidate in a papal election. One of them is Cardinal Pietro Parolin, but he's not the one I have my eye on. I think Matteo Zuppi, who is the leader of the Italian bishops. This guy is more Italian than any other bishop in Italy. And you can see it on his face. Look at this smug dude. Look at this dude. I think this guy is a good candidate. Although one thing I don't love about him is that he says the church needs to improve its outreach to the LGBTQ community. This smacks of a sort of liberal outlook that I'm not really looking for in the next pope. Another promising candidate is Luis Tagle from the Philippines. We could have an Asian pope. The Philippines is a very Catholic country. The quote-unquote young candidate in this race is Robert Prevost, the young candidate. Now, what's special about him is that he is American. He's from Chicago. I think that if this guy won, Donald Trump would be all over it. He would be like, and guess what? We have an American pope, as it should be. I don't know if any of you are Catholic. Are you Catholic? Who here is Catholic? Yeah? You like the Pope? Some of you Catholic? Some of you like the Pope? I like the Pope. I'm not Catholic. I don't see this guy winning, though. Sorry, Trump. I don't think we're getting an American Pope this time. Then we've got Christoph Schoenborn. He's basically the liberal Jewish bishop. I support civil unions and making women into deacons. Lame. I've been through all the candidates for you, but none of them are ultimately all that impressing, except for one. My pick to be the next pope is Cardinal Robert Sarah. Robert Sarah is from Guinea. Let me read this guy's bio. Sarah, 79, of Guinea, the retired head of the Vatican's liturgy office, was long considered the best hope for an African pope. Beloved by conservatives, Sarah would signal a return to the doctrinaire and liturgically minded papacies of John Paul II and Benedict. Sarah, who had previously headed the Vatican's charity office, Cor Unum, clashed on several occasions with Francis, none more seriously than when he and Benedict co-authored a book advocating the necessity of continued celibacy for Latin Rite priests. The book came out as Francis was weighing whether to allow married priests in the Amazon to address a priest shortage there. The implication was that Sarah had manipulated Benedict into lending his name and moral authority to a book that had all the appearances of being a counterweight to Francis's own teaching. Francis dismissed Benedict's secretary and several months later retired Seurat after he turned 75. Even Seurat's supporters lamented the episode hurt his papal chances. But fear not, because I think that this guy is the winner. Or at least he should be the winner. Because here's the thing, this guy is the only guy on this list who's actually like a real conservative. And I think that's what the Catholic Church needs. I think the Catholic Church should be a conservative institution. I mean, the liberal pope... having a liberal pope for a few years was kind of fun. I liked seeing Francis just spout a bunch of commie rhetoric from the pulpit. We had a woke pope for a while, and I think that was warranted for the time. But now is not the time. Now I think the Catholic Church is struggling. It needs a revival. And Robert Seurat is the man to bring him in. One of the things I really like about Robert Seurat is that he wants to bring Catholic Mass back to the way it used to be. Because in the old days, the priest would face away from the congregation like this, and he would go, Aruda unum parast ari condararacator. He would say a bunch of Latin gibberish, and everyone would be like, whoa, what's going on? This is so cool. Nobody knew what he was saying. Nobody needed to know what he was saying. Who wanted to know what he was saying? Honestly, who actually wanted to know? But now the priest just faces the congregation just like a petty reverend. They become Protestants, and it disgusts me. I think the reason people are turning to Catholicism and to Orthodox Christianity is because they want something, orthodox. They want something that's going to give them that real firm, planted feeling like, no, this is institutional Christianity. This idea that anyone can read the Bible and come up with their own interpretation of it, and you can just pick and choose which interpretation you agree with. Ugh. And in a lot of ways, Protestants are much more just unlikable than Orthodox Christians, because they have this arrogance that assumes that they're smart enough to have figured out the truth. Everyone else is an idiot, but I figured it out because my reading of the Bible is superior to everyone else's. Orthodox Christianity is not about reading the Bible. Orthodox Christians don't fucking read the Bible, and nor should they. And if they do, they're doing it wrong. Orthodox Christianity, I'm including Roman Orthodox Christianity, Catholic Christianity. What it should be about, not what it is about for a lot of people, what it should be about is listening to what the priest tells you and not needing anything else. And I think there's an important place for that sort of thing in our society. And that's why people are going toward that now. People have realized how truly lame Protestantism really is. And they want something a little bit more mystical. And I think this guy is the guy to bring that back. And you know what I like about him the most? It's not his conservatism. It's his look. This guy looks stern. He looks austere. And he looks freaking awesome. So many of the pictures I see of Robert Seurat have him in this black robe with red trim. And I don't know why he wears this, but I like to think he wears this because he knows he just looks freaking so good in black. And I want him to be the Dark Pope. We've already had the Emperor Palpatine of popes in Benedict, and Benedict had this evil look about him, but like not in a way that was likable or cool. He just looked horrible. But this Seurat guy, he has the aesthetic nailed down. He'll be the Darth Vader of popes. And he even kind of reminds me of James Earl Jones. I want a stern, austere, conservative pope who's going to clean up the church, get rid of all this sexual perversion, bring back the old mass, and most importantly, not bow down to anyone except God. Make all the world leaders come to him for his approval. I myself am not a conservative, but I do think that the Catholic Church should be conservative. And I think it should be no nonsense, like Catholic Reformation era. That's what I'm looking for. Not like the decadent Medici era. I'm looking for like 17th century popes. Because what's the point of having a Catholic Church if it's just going to be washed in the blood of Satan like every other liberal? Get the Black Pope in the sea and make Rome great again.